Lori Daybell's descent from suburban mother to convicted murderer is a chilling saga of apocalyptic delusions and family betrayal. Already serving life sentences for the murders of her children, JJ and Tylee, her fourth husband, and her fifth husband's first wife, Lori now faces new charges in Arizona. Prosecutors allege she conspired with her brother Alex Cox to murder her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux, in 2019. Boudreaux survived a drive-by shooting in Gilbert, Arizona, where a bullet narrowly missed his head. Evidence suggests Cox traveled from Idaho to Arizona for the attempted murder, and the vehicle used matched one associated with Lori's daughter, Tylee. In her doomsday beliefs, Boudreaux was labeled a dark spirit, justifying the attack. Lori, representing herself, pleaded not guilty to the conspiracy charge in a case that has captivated and horrified the nation. Today, Lori delivered her opening statement to the jury, and we will show it to you tonight as our coverage of the doomsday cult killer, Lori Daybell, continues.
I'm Vinnie Politan. Thank you for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. I want you to take a moment and listen really closely. Do you hear it? The Daybell rings again. She's back. Unbelievable. Lori Daybell has yet another trial. It will end at some point, folks. It will end. And at some point we can put her in the rearview mirror, but we're not there yet because she's back on trial. Only this time, I think things are starting to change a little bit. In her first trial, she just sat there, did nothing until after sentencing, and then had a bizarre statement. Second trial, she decided to represent herself and was surprisingly good in representing herself compared to what the expectations were. She exceeded those expectations. But I think the question now is she beginning to crack? Is she starting to crack a little bit? What's going on with Lori Daybell? Is she starting to crack here? Is really the question that we're asking. And that's because of this back and forth with the judge. Her demeanor in court, outside the presence of the jury though, right, has been much different. She just seems like she's starting to act the way you would expect someone like Lori to act, who's decided to represent themselves. And to me, the further question is she unhinged at this point? And I say that because she tried to get out of court because of a headache. Now, does that show someone who's unhinged? Is she unhinged? I don't know. But we're beginning to see differences in this trial as she represents herself. So I think as we watch this trial and we listen to this trial, we have to pay attention to everything that she does, everything that she says. Because I think we all agree there's something wrong with her. I think we all agree something changed in her life from everything that we've learned about her before all of this, that, you know, she met Chad Daybell and everything changed, because at one point she was a loving mother and a loving wife. But yeah, things, and now that may be manifesting itself inside of the courtroom, which leads us to the final question of what will she do next, right? And I think that's one of the reasons we're going to stay and pay close attention to this trial involving the attempted murder of her niece's ex-husband, Brandon Boudreaux. And this goes back to 2019. So, as she did last time, she's representing herself. So the jury will hear directly from her, and they did today in her opening statement. So I want you to take a look at it and keep in mind, you know, things that happened before this opening statement, which were the little cracks in Lori Daybell, where she seems to be acting a little bit differently than she did last time around. And there may be something brewing. And always remember that before her first trial, there was a time we didn't know if that trial would ever happen. because she was deemed not competent to stand trial. So she has a history of decompensating, of having these mental breaks. So let's watch her opening statement and see how she held up today.
In this case, the prosecutor was not present during this alleged crime. The Gilbert Police Department was not present during this alleged crime. So it is their job to fill in the gaps, make up a theory, and present it to you, the jury, at trial. This is their job. They are not witness to the actual events because they weren't there that day with Brandon at the house when this alleged shooting occurred. This case is about a conspiracy. And a conspiracy is when two or more people make an agreement to commit a crime. Conspiracy is an ancient word that appears in the Bible on many occasions. Judas conspired against Jesus with the chief priests for 30 pieces of silver.
Object to, unless this is being presented at trial, I'm not sure that this is appropriate opening.
Melanie and I are very close because my sister, her mother, passed away when she was just 9 years old. So Melanie and I think of each other and love each other like a mother and daughter, even though we are aunt and niece. So our families remained close, Melanie and Brandon's family and my family. In this case, you will hear Brandon himself tell you that someone shot a gun at his car. You will learn in this testimony that Brandon was not hurt. You will learn that he wasn't even sure what had happened. But you will hear that Brandon immediately blamed me. Which begs the question, was I an enemy to Brandon? That is news to me, and hopefully by the end of this trial, we will all have some answers to that question. You will learn that Brandon speaks of a puke green Jeep, and then he offers the officers a camo green color that he's speaking of on his phone. He says a green Jeep. Then you will hear the neighbor who says that it was a dark blue Jeep that was parked in front of the neighbor's house. You will learn that Brandon very quickly hired a private investigator to find out where I was living out of the state of Arizona so he could inform the police. You will see Brandon exchange email information with Detective Pillar, the case agent in this case, about my whereabouts and about the financial dealings of my niece, Melanie Boudreaux. You will learn that Brandon was not particularly satisfied with the investigation that Gilbert Police was conducting, so he did his own investigation, hiring his own private investigator to follow his wife, Melanie Boudreaux. You will find out that Brandon had access to the VIN number of a Jeep and gave it to the police. You will find out that after that event, he quickly changed his story from a camo green Jeep to a gray Jeep. You will then learn that Brandon continued to provide information he was personally finding out to Detective Pillar, the case agent in this case. You will learn that Detective Pillar and Brandon discussed through email how they can demonstrate Melanie's financial gain if Brandon were to have died around October 2nd, 2019. This is what a conspiracy looks like. Two people trying to set up another person for a crime. My niece, Melanie Boudreaux, is named by the state as a co-conspirator. However, she has not been charged with the crime.
I'm going to object
but
and
I
have that
have.
struck as well, Your Honor.
The jury should disregard that statement.
I was not living in Arizona at the time this alleged incident happened on October 2nd, 2019. I was not even aware such an event had taken place. I did have a close relationship with my brother Alex, but I was not aware of his every move. Melanie also had a close relationship with Alex, but also was not aware of his location at all times. Brandon and Alex also had a good relationship until this accusation. They saw each other frequently at all of our family parties and get-togethers and would often be seen laughing and talking. Alex was a comedian who kept our family laughing. Alex passed away in December 2019 of natural causes, so he is not here to defend himself. And I want you to look carefully and determine if this event was a crime at all. Did a shooting actually occur? Only Brandon claims that it did. Only Brandon names me and Alex. You will learn that Brandon himself did own a gun. You will learn that Brandon knew how to shoot his gun. You will learn that Brandon and Melanie were going through a divorce. And you will learn that even though Brandon is the one who actually filed for a divorce, he was blaming me for his divorce. I want you to look closely at the motivation of Brandon and the Gilbert Police Department, because I'm the only one charged with the crime, and I need you to decipher what really happened here, because I'm the only one who's being asked to pay a consequence for this crime.
Again, Your Honor, I'm going to ask to object and strike that.
Sustained.
You, the jury, are brought in to stand between the state and me.
And I'm going to object again to improper statement of the law, argument, and relevance.
Sustained.
You are here to say if a crime has even been committed at all. You are here to say if I committed this very crime and if the state proved this to you beyond a reasonable doubt. If at the end of this trial you have reasonable doubt, then I remain innocent. If the state does not prove to you that I, 1, committed a crime, and 2, committed this crime, then I remain innocent. So I implore you to listen carefully and decide for yourselves if the state's theory really makes logical sense. What motivation did I have? What malice have I ever shown to anyone? What benefit would I gain? I am a person who loves all people and has no malice towards anyone, not even the prosecutors who wrongfully try to convict me.
Your Honor, I'm going to object again to relevance and to argument.
Sustained.
I am all about spreading love and will continue to do so, even after this trial is complete, no matter the result. Thank you.
The loving mass murderer. She's convicted murderer, like she is. I mean, all these people have died. And she's painting this picture. See, what I noticed here, what I saw in this opening statement compared to others, she's pushing the envelope a little bit. She's not stupid. She's just a little out there, right? I'm not saying she doesn't understand the difference between right and wrong, but she's pushing the envelope second time around, inserting the Bible verses, making it personal about the prosecutor, saying things that were obviously objectionable, but I think this is the beginning of what we're going to see throughout this trial. But maybe I'm wrong. I need some help. Let's bring in our think tank. Joining us tonight, retired criminal defense attorney out of Phoenix, Kirk Nurmi, who knows something about women on trial who are a little bit out there. Also with us, private investigator Lori Daybell and Phoenix criminal defense attorney Josh Colesrud. Great to see everyone. Thank you for being here. All right, Kirk, what did you see and hear from her there? Do you think we're going to see something different this time around? I personally do. I think we're seeing bits of it in the opening statement, a lot of it in the pre-trial commotion that was taking place. What do you think?
Yeah, let's remember, Vinny, we got to come into this realizing she was cracked and unhinged to begin with. She used some good duct tape during the first trial, but that duct tape's starting to peel. I think what we heard in her opening statement, the argumentative, the victimhood, things of that nature, I really believe psychologically those are the things that she's going to be telling herself when she spends the rest of her life in prison. She's not making really any sense in this opening statement. Was a crime committed at all? Gilbert Police is setting me up. I'm going to love the prosecutor even though she's wrongfully accusing me of a crime, none of which is going to make a lot of sense to a jury. Her move back towards the religiosity, that those cracks are going to show more to exactly prove her guilt rather than really an assertion of her innocence.
Lori Daybell, we've got a woman here claiming a conspiracy involving, people that she knows, right? Involving law enforcement. What are your thoughts about the state of mind of Lori Daybell? You have followed this saga for years.
Yeah, this isn't the case for the conspiracy claims. I hate to break it to her, but it's not too hard for law enforcement or her private investigator or his private investigator to track the car that was seen in the shooting in broad daylight back to a car that has to do with her. So this is not the case for a conspiracy theory. I think she's going to be sadly disappointed here.
Josh, what did you see from Lori in that opening statement? And, you know, because sometimes with a pro se defendant, things can go south very quickly. Sometimes on a certain day, they may seem 100% okay, and then something else happens. She was complaining about a headache. For the first time, she was trying to delay a case. She was always at Mrs. Speedy Trial, but that's no longer. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sure, and thank you for having me. You know, at first blush, it looks like her opening statement was a disaster with the amount of sustained objections from the prosecutor. However, when you look at the substance of what she said, she leaves open different third-party defenses that will certainly include her brother Alex committing the homicide without her knowledge. So she's going to have to go with some type of third-party defense. She's also leaving open the possibility of attacking the credibility of Brandon, saying that, you know, he was going through a divorce and that maybe Melanie, his ex-wife, also may have a motive in the homicide itself. So, you know, with these types of cases, it's very difficult for any defense to have a very powerful opening statement such as the prosecutor. And despite the objections from the prosecutor, I think that she did leave open the possibility of maybe some solid third-party defenses later on.
Yeah, I love the way she talks about just, I mean, she's a convicted murderer, like more than like her own children, you know, her fourth husband, her fifth husband's wife, all of that. So let's take a listen to the prosecutor from her opening statement, because she references a piece of evidence here, which is a video, which was really one of the first videos that we saw relative to the whole Lori and Chad Daybell saga. And at first we didn't understand the video, but now it makes a whole lot of sense. Let's take a listen.
This is the first action of this defendant, Lori Daybell, in the conspiracy, loaning her brother this Jeep and allowing him to put on these dark tint to get it ready so he can lie in wait and no one could see him in the back with that rifle. On September 30th, the day when her brother took her Jeep and started driving down to Arizona, she searched, quote, how to get the back seat out of my Jeep Wrangler. On October 1st, this defendant does a little more additional help. She goes to a storage unit in Rexburg, Idaho, and rents unit C52. The next day, on October 2nd, when the shooting is happening down in Arizona, or after the shooting actually, she brings her soon-to-be husband, Chad Daybell, with her. And you will see video of this as she and Chad Daybell put the rear tire and the rear bench seat of that Jeep into the storage unit.
And we have that video. Here they are showing up to the storage unit. Kirk, I remember when we first got this video, we were trying to put the pieces together, like what did it mean? Because at this point, it was a story about missing children. But this video ends up being a huge part in the Brandon Boudreaux case, because it's them going to the storage unit and dropping off and then ultimately retrieving that back seat of the Jeep. And Brandon Boudreaux, very specific in his description. And there goes their spare tire, Kirk.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. This makes it harder for her to distance herself. I mean, Josh referenced some third-party defenses that she kind of scattershot mentioned, but she's not really able to embrace any single one of them. This might have been her best course, is to blame Alex, but we see that possibility taking a big shot against the bow, because here she is involved in the car, searching for how to remove the back seat. She's intimately involved in all this situation, tinting the windows, etc. So you combine that with some of what the emotional testimony we heard from Mr. Boudreaux today, and it really starts putting a ribbon on this package of this conspiracy. This prosecution has done a great job so far.
Yeah, and when you're trying to prove a conspiracy, someone's got to actually do something in furtherance of that conspiracy. And right there on video, we can see it. Great news. Think Tank staying with us for the hour. When we come back, we'll listen to Brandon Boudreaux, who took the stand today, the victim in the case, his testimony, plus coming up next hour.
Tonight on Vinnie Politan Investigates, the defense is underway in the Karen Reed retrial of the century. Tonight, we take a look at the 4 biggest pieces of evidence presented by the defense. Do they equal reasonable doubt?
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
Karen Reed is in the midst of the retrial of the century.
She is factually innocent. She's guilty.
There's something wrong in this county. Come at me.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage weekday mornings, 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Hey, buddy, I never even got your name. What is it?
Brandon Boudreaux.
Brandon? I just want to verify only one shot, right?
One shot.
All right, that's Brandon Boudreaux right after someone had shot at him in what he's calling a drive-by, but I believe the truck was parked. He was coming home from the gym, and he noticed a Jeep with Texas plates and the spare tire missing out of the back. Important facts in this case. Then he goes on the stand today, first witness called by the prosecution to talk about what happened that day. And important, thank goodness he survived. I mean, he's a father with young children who are growing up. They need their dad. And he's in the midst of this divorce case with his ex, Melanie. Let's take a listen as he describes the attempt on his life.
So as I let the car kind of coast in, the back window pops up. I see a muzzle. I hear a bang. Then you know your fight or flight kicks in at that point. So for me, I just immediately thought, and my window shattered. You know, all that happened in like the snap of a finger, and so I just immediately thought someone's shooting at me because I saw a muzzle. So I hit the accelerator and I just went straight. I no longer was planning on turning into my driveway to let the garage door trigger.
Unbelievable. Now, after that happens, of course, he immediately calls 911. Let's take a listen.
911, where's your emergency?
Someone just shot my window.
Okay, where at?
I'm in the Cooley Station neighborhood. I was pulling in my house at 38755 East. I drove away, but I can see them driving off.
Okay, someone shot at your vehicle?
Yeah, and it hit my window. It shattered my driver's side window.
Okay, when you pulled into his driveway?
As I was trying to pull into my driveway. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm a little off breath. They just drove off. I saw them drive off.
Okay. Do you know who these people are?
I have no idea. I moved into a new home about a week ago.
What kind of vehicle is it that drove away?
Jeep Wrangler, had a Texas plate on it.
Jeep Wrangler?
Yeah, it was olive green.
Did you see how many people were in the Jeep?
There must have been at least 2 because somebody shot at me and then somebody else drove off, and I don't think they had enough time to go climb from the back into the front.
Right, okay. And then do you have any injuries? Did they shoot at you?
They shot at me, it hit my window, it bounced off. It might not have been a real gun. It was loud, but it might have been like a paintball gun or something.
Did you hear there might have been a paintball gun? Just like Tammy Daybell, when she was shot at the first time by Alex Cox, she said it may have been a paintball gun. Strange coincidence. That happens after this shooting, by the way. All this is taking place, remember in July, this is October 2nd. In July, Charles Vallow was shot and killed by Alex Cox. So Brandon knows that, and immediately at the scene starts talking to the detectives and pointing the finger at Alex and Lori.
When you talked to Detective Pillar, was that a little bit later, but while you're still sitting here on the scene?
Yes.
Had you had time to kind of get yourself back under control?
Yes.
Do you remember that conversation more than your
Yes.
conversation with the first officer?
Yes, I do.
At that time, when you were asked by Detective Pillar if there was anyone you knew who might want to harm you, were you able to provide any names?
I told him the only person I could think of.
And who was that?
It was two people. It was Lori and Alex.
Unbelievable. Still with us, Kirk Nurmi, Lauren Vellucci, and Josh Colesrud. All right, Lauren, to me, Brandon Boudreaux, you know, kind of under the radar in our coverage of the first several trials here, the first 3 trials, but really a crucial figure. I mean, if more people had listened to him, some of the carnage may have been spared in all of this, because he knew right out of the bat something is terribly wrong, and Lori's in the middle of it.
Absolutely. And he's such a credible witness on the stand. So I think that that if they had done exactly what you had said, there had a very good chance that they could have gotten Lori some mental health, because she really needs some mental help, and put her behind bars, because this is the kind of the start of the genesis of where we went, and it went very, very south from here. And so he comes off very credible and just a likable guy. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, and Josh, you know, again, putting this all in context, Alex shoots and kills Lori's 4th husband, Charles Vallow. No one gets arrested. Like nothing happens. She moves out of, they both move out of state. And it just seems that Brandon Boudreaux had his hand really on the pulse of what was happening here, and knew immediately, which to me speaks volumes. The problem was everyone was not necessarily listening or communicating with one another.
Exactly. And Brandon is the rare surviving victim in the Vallow Daybell saga. This highlights, you know, how important his testimony is really going to be. And we all know what he's testifying to, because he's already testified in the Idaho case. And what's different about this situation, though, is it's very rare that you have a defendant who is representing herself and gets to cross-examine their own victim in the case. So, you know, there's going to be a lot of firsts in this case that a lot of us haven't seen before. But Brandon obviously is a very lucky individual. Everybody else involved in the Daybell saga, unfortunately, was killed and isn't, no longer here. That's why we're here for an attempted murder case instead of a first-degree murder.
Yeah, Kirk, I was trying to put together a little timeline in my head about when everyone is dying, right? You got Charles Vallow in July. The kids, JJ Tiley, they go missing in September. This is the beginning of October. So I think by this point, you've already got 3 people dead. But one who isn't is Tammy Daybell. So it seems if the reaction had been a little bit more, urgency from law enforcement, and maybe I don't know if Brandon needed to scream at the top of his lungs, but as we heard, he's hiring his own private investigator, because I don't think anyone realizes how many layers this whole thing has. And I think the only persons whose life may have been spared, if everyone had been listening a little bit more closely, would have been Tammy's.
Yeah, right. We always have the benefit of hindsight right now. And when we think about the different actions in this case, it's kind of a crazy kind of story, a connection to make, right? And at the time, police had this shooting, but no real connection to who might have done it. I mean, obviously he put a couple people forward, but there was really no evidence that would tie her to that. She didn't live in the state, what have you, right? So some of these things, could they have really have gone back and got subpoenas, for example, for the text messages, things of that nature, that would have helped tie this together? Maybe, but I think it might have been a little bit of a stretch there, because the cases might have seemed so disconnected, and we can look back in hindsight and see that connection, the cultist beliefs, because they really didn't know all those things back then. When we talk about these bizarre religious beliefs, it's really that ties all these things together, and that's what the benefit of hindsight gives us.
Yeah, and Lauren, because he's hiring private investigator, give us an idea that role of a private investigator when there's an active law enforcement investigation. That's an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, sometimes they're great. I've had that experience, and then I've had others where they don't want to work with you at all. But he has hired this private investigator, and if, as you saw in the video, surveillance video, these are very nice homes in a very nice area. I can guarantee you most of those houses had surveillance. It was easy to get that license plate, that VIN number, and it took them right there. So this was such an easy case. And that makes me think to Kirk's point that I really think she believes everything, all of these religious spins, and that she has the right to do this because they're evil. Because who in their right mind is going to someone's house in the middle of the day and shooting and then going to drive out of this area?
And did the same thing at Tammy Daybell's house. Same exact thing.
Yeah.
All right, guests are staying with us. When we come back, what was happening before the shooting?
Do you think it was reasonable for Brandon to accuse you of being in a cult just because you're Lori Vallow's niece?
Absolutely not. Starting sort of the end of 2018 through 2019, did you notice Melanie spending more time with Lori?
Yes.
In 2019, did you start to notice issues with your marriage with Melanie?
Yes, I did.
Without going into what was said, did you ever speak with Charles Vallow about Lori Vallow interfering with your marriage with Melanie?
Yes, I did. On a few occasions.
Brandon Boudreaux there talking about his ex, Melanie, who was spending more and more time with Lori and seemingly falling into this doomsday cultish group of people that were meeting regularly and talking about all of their beliefs about the end times. So it seems that Melanie was falling into this. Let's take you back inside the courtroom for more testimony from Brandon Boudreaux here talking about his relationship with Melanie, because really this is a significant part of this case. Like Lori's on trial, but Melanie is the link. Melanie is the link between Brandon Boudreaux and Lori Daybell. Let's watch.
On June 25th of 2019, I had a long disagreement with my then wife. My grandfather had passed away suddenly of a heart attack a few days earlier, and she had told me she didn't want to go to his funeral, and that had led to the start of a disagreement that quickly changed and was very different than what I thought was going on.
I'm going to have you put your mic just a little closer to you.
Yes, sorry.
That's okay. So you said it started out as a conversation about going to your grandfather's funeral.
Yes,
And then it changed into something different?
it did, yes.
During this conversation with Melanie on June 25th, were you accused or told that you had been involved in doing some things to her aunt, Lori Vallow?
I was, yes. This sticks out because it was so bizarre to me. I was trying to talk to my wife about our relationship, and she was using different language that was confusing. She kept saying that she was going to reveal things about me, and it just didn't make sense. And then she accused me of hacking Lori's computer, which I knew I hadn't done, and I didn't know why it mattered to what we were talking about. So, that something like that sticks with you because it's just doesn't connect.
Do you know how to hack into other people's computers?
I do not.
So you're being accused of hacking into Lori Vallow's computer. Did anything get raised during this conversation regarding your sexuality?
Yeah, it was a very long argument. It started in the afternoon, and went past midnight, and as things kept escalating, more different allegations that didn't make any sense kept coming up, and one of those was that God had revealed to her that I was gay, and that one stuck out because Charles had told me that that Lori was trying to convince her of that, which I thought was so bizarre. It just didn't make any sense. I was married and we had 4 kids. So.
Did you ever hear anything about allegations that you were trying to help Charles take Lori Vallow's temple recommend away?
It didn't come up in that specific argument, other than as a side mention of why I might have hacked a computer. But yes, I did hear those allegations.
Fascinating. That could get you into motive there. If she's trying to impact Lori's standing with the church, that might be a reason why he became a zombie all of a sudden. Josh, let me ask you, do you think this jury needs to hear from Brandon's ex, Melanie? And if so, who would call her? And what would her reaction be? Would she just take the fifth?
Excellent question. And the answer is a resounding yes. Both the prosecution and Ms. Daybell both mentioned Melanie during their opening statement. And I think the jury wants to hear from her. And in fact, Lori, even over objections, mentioned what she thinks Melanie's role is in the case. And I think we do have to hear from her. If I'm the prosecutor, I would definitely call her, even if she's an adverse witness. The reason being is you want to take the wind out of the defense's sails, so to speak. They really need to parse out what Melanie knew and didn't know during and after the time of the murder, because she held the gate keys. She knew exactly where Brandon was going to be on October 2nd. She was the only person that knew where he lived. She also knew his schedule. The prosecutor talked about this in her opening statement. And I feel like if the prosecutor doesn't call Melanie as a witness, the jury is going to be disappointed and be like, why didn't you have her testify? You promised that she was going to say this, this, and this. And if she doesn't testify, the defense can come back and say in closing that the prosecutor had broken promises.
Kirk, this is sounding like another trial that we're covering down in Florida involving the Adelson family. Wendy Adelson, her husband, Dan Markell, went to the gym and then was shot at, and he was killed. In this case, Brandon Boudreaux, also in the midst of a divorce and custody battle, leaves the gym and he's shot at. And in both cases, the ex has not been charged with anything.
Right, and it appears he probably won't be, at least if she would have been by this point. I wonder, and Josh is correct when he talks about the sort of illumination she could offer to this trial, but at the same time, if she's going to plead the fifth, none of that illumination comes forward, and the attorneys wouldn't ethically be able to put her on the stand in order to do that, nor would Miss Vallow, even her pro per capacity. So there's going to be some limitations there on what she could give to this trial. Lori might be, but I think what we're seeing here, and I don't know that Lori could even really use a lot of this, is this idea we see her as a master manipulator, right? We see this conspiracy. She's trying to separate Brandon from her wife and from his wife and bring her into this cult, right? And so we see this kind of manipulation in a way we see a little bit with Charles in his tape, his discussion with the police that we saw during the last trial. But this trial certainly goes deeper, and we see this. It gives such a full illustration of this cult that Lori's beginning to show that I think the prosecution, and especially given the opponent in this case, doesn't maybe necessarily have to try to illustrate.
Yeah, we're looking at some of those photos, and I think that's some are Brandon Boudreaux, but I think others, some video we saw of her with her new husband. She has a new life, Lauren Vellucci. Melanie does, but I'm wondering how much she could reveal to this jury, because we want juries to get to the truth, and unfortunately, because of the rules of evidence and the Fifth Amendment and all these other things, taking the Fifth, sometimes they don't get all the information.
Yeah, and even if she were to, do her Fifth Amendment right in front of the jury, I think that would speak wonders. But I say put her on the stand. Absolutely. She bears responsibility. She's the missing link between the locations of where Brendan was and Alex Cox. She has a a big responsibility that she bared in this, and put her on the stand.
All right. A big thank you to our think tank tonight. Kirk Nurmi, Lauren Vellucci, and Josh Colesrud. Great to have you on the program. We'll see you again really, really soon. When we come back, we will reveal something else you need to know tonight.
Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates. Coming up next, only on Court TV.
A social media star loses his wife and then loses control.
I couldn't believe that she could do that to me.
From content creator to cold-blooded killer, the TikTok star murder trial. Weekdays 2 to 8, streaming on Court TV. Legendary Trials.
Time to reveal something else you need to know tonight. Let's take a look at the big board and see what's happening in the world of crime and justice. This sex trafficking trial of Diddy Combs continues, and some Diddy drama today with the judge. Kelly Craft, Court TV legal correspondent in New York City, with the latest for us tonight.
Hi there, Vinny. If Sean Combs wants to remain inside the federal courtroom for the remainder of his federal sex trafficking trial, he better be careful. Today, the judge scolded him, saying he caught Sean Combs having interactions with some members of the jury during testimony. The judge said to Combs' defense counsel, there was a line of questioning when your client was nodding vigorously and looking at the jury. It is absolutely unacceptable. The judge said if it happens again, he will consider more severe measures, including removing Combs from the courtroom. Court began a little later this morning. Sean's mom making her way into the federal courthouse, and Sean's son, Brianna Bongolan, a close friend of Cassie Ventura, had a tough time on the stand today. Her testimony being picked apart by defense counsel, especially her allegation that Combs dangled her over a balcony. Defense counsel accusing her of lying, saying Combs was in the New York area when she claims the incident happened in Los Angeles. Another alleged victim of Combs on the stand today. She is going by the pseudonym Jane. She said she met Combs in 2020, and they had their first date in Miami. This was back in January of 2021. 5 months later, Combs suggesting that they turn their role-playing into reality. He called sessions with escorts hotel nights or nights of debauchery. The first time, she said it was exhilarating, but then she thought it was just a one-time thing. When she told Sean Combs she did not want to have sex with other men, he'd suggest breaking up. And Vinny, when Jane first began her testimony, it was really clear she still had deep feelings for Sean Combs. She was explaining to the jury how charming he was and also passionate. Testimony resumes at 9 a.m. tomorrow. That's the latest from here in Lower Manhattan. Vinny, we'll send it back to you.
Kelly Craft in New York City. Our coverage continues of that. Right now, though, please take a look at your television screens. We have a missing child who needs your help. This is Titianna Akins, missing from Miami Gardens, Florida, 17 years old. May still be in the local area, may have traveled to other cities in Florida. If you see Titianna, please pick up the phone, make a call, make a difference, 911. 1-800-THE-LOST, or you can call the Miami-Dade County Sheriff's Office down in Florida. That number's on our screen. Let's see if we get Titianna to a safe place tonight. Don't go anywhere. We have another hour of live true crime. Vinnie Politan Investigates is next. We take a look at the Karen Reed defense. In the meantime, please don't forget to hug the kids.